Hello, everyone. My name is Wendy Myers of harmonipendant.com. And thanks so much for joining us today. And thanks so much for your purchase of a Harmony pendant. I wanted to have Eric Zielinski on to have a little bit of discussion about some frequently asked questions regarding the pendant, questions that are probably in your mind about how it works and how do you use it to get maximum benefit out of it. So Eric, thanks so much for joining me.
Well, thank you, and everyone, thank you for trusting me and Mama Z for recommending this. We've known Wendy for many years now, and we truly trust her as an expert in a variety of detoxification strategies. And so when she introduced us to the Harmony pendant, I quite frankly felt it was an answer to prayer. I've been really, really concerned about electromagnetic frequency, really concerned about what's happening with 5G, and it's unavoidable. We cannot escape it. And so I've been praying, not knowing what to do. And every time this has happened in my life, every time I see a threat, every time whatever it could be a virus outbreak, it could be whatever it is, I always pray and God always provides an answer. And I truly believe this is an answer. And I'm hoping that we could just clarify some questions you might have and just re-solidify and reinforce. You made a really wise decision and you're going to be blessed and your family is going to be blessed, especially because I appreciate Wendy too discounting this so much, because some of the EMF technology out there, EMF protecting technology, is really expensive, but this is affordable and it's fun, it's attractive. You know, our kids like wearing the little pendant, and it has it's a lot more accessible than a lot of things. So when Mama Z and I scour the industry for solutions, whether it's essential oils or herbs or supplements, and we come up with things like this, we're like, wow, this is great. So again, thank you for trusting me and Mama Z. And we're going to cover some questions and thoughts that we've gotten from our customer support team and Wendy's as well. So I'm kind of hoping, Wendy, that you could just kind of dive into a couple things, like what do we, big picture, we could talk about how it works and why it works, but let's just get started. Like, how do you activate this thing? What's the best way of getting the best benefits? Any high level recommendations?
Long story short, after you got the pendant, you should have got a video to activate the pendant. So it's not going to work unless you activate it to your body. And so that is a very simple process. It takes a couple of minutes. All you do is, take the pendant off. So you'd have to take it off, and you want to get a ruler that's about 12 inches. So it's just easiest just to get a metal ruler or wooden ruler, touch it to your sternum, to your heart. And then when the ruler's about, a foot out here, you can also just eyeball it too. And you take the pendant and you put it at the end of the ruler and you hold it there for about a minute. And what that does is it kind of tunes to your body's energy field. We all have an energy field where our body communicates within this energy field. It's one of the explanations as to how so many trillions of things are happening every minute in our body that can't be accounted for just in how our body is physically functioning. And the pendant helps to tune up this energy field and correct kind of deficits or issues or energetic blocks in the energy field. And you want to do that to activate the pendant to your body. And that's where you start feeling a lot of the benefits. You feel less stressed. We can prove this with an HRV or heart rate variability test, where this is a marker that's used in Harvard studies and stress studies all over the world to prove that this pendant reduces stress, or this marker of stress, and people end up having more energy, they have better sleep, they just feel better emotionally, and a lot of different things, a lot of other benefits as well. And then you have to repeat this process once a week, because different things come at you and they throw you off. You can have a stressor, you can have a really bad EMF exposure, Wi-Fi or cell phone, or walk into a building that has really, really strong EMF. People can get hit by mold. They can eat food they're sensitive to. Just different things throw you off. So you have to retune the pendant once a week to your body. So I do it every Saturday morning. That's my ritual. I take the pendant off. I hold it a foot from my body. I hold it there for 2 minutes. And that's enough to kind of recalibrate your body's energy field and continue to enjoy the benefits of the pendant ongoing. So a lot of people will say, oh, I'm not really feeling anything, or it's not working. They either didn't harmonize the pendant or activate it to begin with, or they're not doing it every single week. So that's probably the biggest mistake that people make with using the pendant and enjoying the benefits of it.
In the aromatherapy world, y'all, we call this well, we don't have a term for this per se, but there's a test that we use to evaluate the efficacy of essential oils. And if you've read my books and if you've heard me talk a lot about the organoleptic evaluation, like how does your body perceive the essential oil through taste, touch, sight, scent, all your five senses, but the sixth sense, like intuition, there's an element where you might feel something emotional. And we go back and we've covered this with stress, anxiety, post-traumatic concerns, abuse, trauma, and how a scent, a smell can re-trigger that. And so what I want to enlighten everyone to is that we've gotten some questions, like people asking, like, is this voodoo? No, it's not. It's the thing. The couple factors is we tried to match what our body needs at the time of an intervention. And so, like we've covered so many times in the past, if you're trying to use, let's say again, essential oil, some people might get a headache or an adverse reaction today to something because their biochemistry does not have a good proper reaction to it. But 2 weeks, a month, a year from now, you'll be in euphoria because you'll have a positive reaction. Some things can go day by day by day. And something when it comes to something I would say erratic as electromagnetic toxicity, because we're so inundated all the time by it, that it would require a weekly reset because your body is going through these cycles. And so it makes a lot of sense. And so when people say, well, why do I have to put it a foot away from my sternum? You can explain a little bit more to it, but that's like the ideal place where the energetic field needs to be recalibrated. Is that correct, Wendy?
Yeah. So the
Yeah.
founder of this, Robert Marking, he's the one that developed this. He envisioned it, and he's been using it in practice for about 15 years. And so it's how he recovered his health. And so he just wants to get it out to the world. And what he's found in working with thousands of people, professional athletes, just all kinds of people, that was the best spot on the body that he found after trying all kinds of different things, that area, a foot away from the heart or the sternum, works the best to get the best results. And he's used other places on the forehead before, right above the belly button, but the 1 foot from the heart works the best.
Yeah, it makes sense. And one thing, and Wendy, I appreciate you really doing this because we're trying to communicate in a way that crosses various concerns of demographics and spiritual backgrounds. And a lot of people that follow us, because we're Christian, we're very open with our faith, are Christians. And it was interesting. We got an email from a woman who bought your Harmony pendant, I think a year ago, from you, and she received the invitation from us, and she goes, well, I'm so glad to see that you're recommending this. I've been using the Harmony pendant and I'm sleeping better. I feel so much better. But she said, but I've been concerned if it's something I should do. Does this conflict with my Christian faith? And so she's been using this in faith, in faith that is good, but there's been this inkling concern in the back of her mind. I just want to share with you, in my opinion, and as a minister of the gospel, because we preach, folks, we preach all over the world. As a minister of the gospel, I don't see any sort of contradiction or confliction that we could wear, just simply put, a piece of metal that has a nice, cool looking design on it with 4 holes, as any sort of compromise. And there's nothing offensive to God to it. And the thing that I want to bring us back to from a spiritual perspective, there's nothing voodoo, there's nothing demonic. But as a researcher, I put on my research hat, and we've talked a lot about bioenergetics, Wendy. That's like the whole purpose. And so I want to read you guys, and this is from nature.com, like one of the most well-respected journals on the planet. Here's the study of bioenergetics. Bioenergetics is the branch of biochemistry that focuses on how cells transform energy, often by producing, storing, or consuming ATP, which is adenosine triphosphate. Bioenergetic processes such as cellular respiration or photosynthesis are essential to most aspects of cellular metabolism, therefore to life itself. And here's an interesting thing, though. I think you might find this interesting. When I pulled up the latest research on bioenergetics, just published now just published, when is it? Today, literally today, which is February 26th, an article was published today that, here's the title of it. This is kind of open up your mind to what we're dealing with, how scientific this is. Here's the title of this research article: A Mathematical Model for Vibration Behavior Analysis of DNA and Using a Resonant Frequency of DNA for Genome Engineering.
Yeah.
Let's kind of pull at that, what we just said here. I don't expect you to understand that. I don't expect me to understand that. All I'm looking at is a mathematical scientific model for vibration, frequency, DNA engineering.
Yes.
This is what science is evaluating right now. We are vibrating frequencies, and our mutual friend, and a lot of you follow Michael Terrell, whole tones, healing frequency music. Everything around us is frequency. Everything around us has energy. So if you could cover just a little bit about the bioenergetic aspect of it, because this takes the woo-woo out of it completely, because the reality is, like we talked about jokingly, Wendy, I literally have no idea how we're even talking right now on Zoom.
Yeah.
On this video. How does the internet work? How does this video work? Like, I don't understand how I could be, I just don't understand how these crazy cell phone towers and all this Wi-Fi produces the ability that I could go online.
Yes.
And knowing, though, that there's a lot of wah stuff that I can't feel or touch or see or anything, but it's producing everything around me. There has to be a cause, risk, benefit to all this stuff.
Yes.
So this is, again, give us a little bit of bioenergetics, because this is what we're talking about.
Yes, I talk about this all the time. I've been talking about bioenergetics for about 3.5 years because I discovered it and I've just been fascinated by it. And really the basics of bioenergetics is that your liver has a certain frequency at which it vibrates and emits. Your heart has a certain frequency. A food sensitivity you have has a certain frequency which can be measured. The EMF from Wi-Fi and computers, those have a certain frequency which can be measured. The electricity in your walls have a certain frequency at which they can be measured. Everything has a frequency, and it can be measured with different equipment. And so when you're looking at your body's energy field, so you have a biophoton field that can be measured. This is the light, because your mitochondria in your body work by absorbing light from the sun and then produce energy from that. There are little cells or little batteries called biophotons. And that is one way in which your body's mitochondria, the little powerhouses of the cells, make energy. And what we found on some of the tests that we did was before people activated their pendant, their biophoton field is kind of dim and not so bright. And then after they activated the pendant, their biophoton field lit up. And because their body was turning energy or frequency radiation from the sun, infrared rays, and more efficiently utilizing that and turning it into energy. And so when you're working with the pendant, when you're activating the pendant, you're essentially tuning up your body's entire frequency to improve it. You're improving the body's energy field, improving communication, improving the efficiency at which your body works. And people can feel this very markedly. Like when I first activated my pendant, when I first met Robert Marking at a bioenergetic training that I went to, I was so stressed out. I was living in a moldy home. I was so stressed to the max, and I had been for a while. And he activated me, and within a few minutes, I started yawning. I started getting really, really relaxed, like I could take a nap. And I slept so good that night. And it's because my sympathetic nervous system went from this high stress state to just more relaxed. And that's what we see when we're testing the HRV, or heart rate variability, where it before the pendant, there's a very stressed reading. After activating the pendant, it's a much lower reading, and you can feel that. You absolutely can feel it, even if you don't, even if you're not measuring before and after with an HRV or other type of equipment. So that's kind of, an explanation. I can definitely get more technical and more involved with it, but that's essentially, probably the simplest explanation that I can come up with.
It makes sense because we see that microwave technology actually causes food to become poison to us, and that's research based. Food that has been irradiated by microwave technology. Same thing like what happens through. It really has a lot to do with ionizing and non-ionizing radiation, and EMFs are non-ionizing radiation, right?
Yes.
So you have ionizing radiation. We all know about this, y'all. Like ionizing radiation, your x-rays at the doctor, there's a reason why they're behind lead walls. I mean, as a chiropractor, we're trained at school. Like you can't have your x-ray just shoot out into the window. You actually have to have like a lead wall, or it has to be your x-ray has to shoot if you're in a hill where there's like a land mass, because x-rays can't penetrate through lead, or it can't penetrate through a rock or a landmass to an extent. So there's risks associated with radiation. So we're dealing with non-ionizing radiation, and so this is still EMFs radiate your body, and
Yes.
there is risk to that. So here's the thing. I guess I want to just celebrate in a very positive way that you took a decision, like me and my wife and my children, to protect ourselves from something that is completely unavoidable. And I will tell you, we have been victims of dirty electricity and EMF toxicity. I've seen it. I've experienced it with my family, especially when we go travel to an Airbnb or something along those lines where you're in an area, especially places where there's a Wi-Fi in a city. Like Disney World is just one of the most polluted places on the planet when it comes to that kind of stuff. You can just feel the anxiety and the stress. Here, have you ever gone away? I call it God's country, but have you ever just gone away up north, maybe? Up north, everyone has an up north. But have you ever gone away into the desert, the mountains, along the beach where you're away from stuff, even away from cell phone coverage, and you just feel different?
You sleep
It's it's
good.
not the air. The air, yeah, it's the air, but it's everything. It's like you're grounded. You're literally grounded. And we're dealing with something that, quite frankly, Christ and the apostles and Moses and all the characters in the Bible, the men and women of God, never dealt with. We're dealing with an issue that is so current and so new and so untested that we are literally walking experiments. And it's no we just talked about the coronavirus. It's no doubt we're getting new diseases, new viruses, new superbugs, and we're just in this state where disease is rapidly happening at such a high level at the same rate that technology is happening. It's like a correlation. The chart is off the charts, and it's scary. But God has not given us a spirit of fear. And I believe that. He's given us a spirit of love, power, and a sound mind. And that sound mind is really what drove me to get the Harmony, to work with Wendy, and to promote this, to share this with you, because it's something that we wholeheartedly believe in. And so with that, I just, again, thank you, Wendy, and thank you all for, again, trusting Mama Z and I in a recommendation, and see how you feel. Like, I am like Wendy, I'm very sensitive to things. And I didn't used to be. When I was strung up on drugs, when I was an alcoholic and smoking and eating horrible food, nothing bothered me. I was just so toxic. My body was numb. Like, I literally was numb. I couldn't feel. When you're depressed and have suicidal thoughts, and when you don't feel emotion anymore, your body just doesn't sense things like it should. Once I went through this wonderful detoxification season of my life, and now it's been 17 years since I've been clean and living this life, I'm very in tune, where I walk into a room or a store or a house, and I just immediately smell a synthetic fragrance, and I know, oh, it's a candle or it's a wallflower, and I instantly get like a headache, or just, ooh, this isn't good for me. I get that same way when it comes to EMF technology and dirty electricity. And so when I put on the pendant and when I activated it, I immediately felt like, I don't know how else to say it, but I immediately felt grounded.
Yeah.
I felt like I was outside, like have done so many times in my life, to get away from it all. I felt like I was under the sun, in the grass, praying, and just having that moment. And I was like, okay, I'm at a good place right now. And we have a smart home, and we have technology all over the place. And again, this is unavoidable. So we're coming up with solutions so that we can continue the life that we live, because I don't want to stop my business. I don't want to stop ministering and helping people and doing all this online stuff. I don't want to be the weird family that doesn't have a TV and no internet. I mean, you know what I mean? So
And we all know those families. Yeah.
I just want to encourage y'all and thank you for taking this jump, and just know that you did something good for yourself. I mean, just really be proud of yourself. And here's my challenge to you. Start like I have you doing with my essential oil books and protocols. I would encourage y'all to get your health journal if you don't start one. And what are the top 5 or 10 things you really want to change in your life? And rank them from like 0 being not an issue to 10 being worst possible scenario you can think of, whether it's sluggish libido, pain, lethargy, whatever. I mean, just name it. Sleep issues, and put down these issues. Like sleep, I want to improve my sleep. I'm at a 5 out of 10. That's sleep issue. Pain, I got this aching shoulder, 9 out of 10. Put the date down, and next month, go back to that list, and then go see what happened. See where the pain is, the libido, the brain fog, the sleep, the issues, the jittery, the panic, the stress, and that right there is true research data. Because you're not, and if you really want to be smart about this, get a separate piece of, or don't even look at the first one, right? Don't even look at your before. Just kind of blind. It's called the double blinded study kind of thing. Blind yourself to what you said a month ago, and you're probably not going to remember unless you have perfect recall like my wife. So go back, like, okay, let's see how my sleep is. Oh, I feel great. My sleep's 2. And then you go through your list, and then you compare the two, and like, wow, that's interesting. Go through your own experiment. And here's the challenge. If you find positive reaction, which you will, go bless somebody with this. Go give someone, say, hey, I got you a piece of jewelry. It's going to make you feel better. Just trust me. It's not crazy. And watch what happens. Watch how you can help your family. Because you and I have strung out family members, and you know them. And they're strung out, and they're on Xanax, and they're on medication, they're addicted to opioids, and they're struggling. They're taking chemo, and they're in pain, and they can't sleep. They're taking all these Ambien and seasonal allergy drugs, and they're just like this cornucopia of like, God help us. Watch through good diet, essential oils, the Harmony pendant, the little things you're doing. Watch someone's life change, and that's when this becomes fun, because you start becoming a tool for change in someone else's life. So that's all I got, Wendy.
Yeah, and that's why I try to get the message out about the Harmony pendant, because it really profoundly changed my life. My meeting Robert Marking profoundly changed the trajectory of my life with me wearing this pendant every day. And I was so inspired by the changes that I felt, like how I immediately felt better, and just I felt euphoric for a few days following, wearing this pendant because I was so stressed. And so for me, my goal is to get this out to as many people as possible. I want to help millions of people with this pendant. I know it's hard for people to kind of grasp that concept of how can this work, and it just seems so like odd, or it's too simple, or it's too good to be true. But bioenergetics is the future of medicine. This is where all the hottest, most current research is going. There's so many different devices that utilize bioenergetics that work in the body's energy field, and the Harmony pendant is no different. And there's a couple studies coming out that will be published on harmonypendant.com. There's one that's already been completed. It's being written up. There's another one with 150 patients with 10 different doctors that are going to be engaged in the study. That'll be up in April, May sometime in 2020. And so just more research on bioenergetics and the pendant specifically. So we have, literally hundreds and hundreds of testimonials from people feeling improvement in, like, UFC fighters, professional water skiers, ultra marathoners that are performing better after wearing the pendant, getting their first knockout. There's just all kinds of people that are like they had an old injury and the injury isn't hurting anymore because the inflammation went down. There's people improving sleep. They just feel better emotionally, people feeling more energy, more joy. A lot of different testimonials from so many people that you can see on harmonypendant.com. There's a couple of videos you can watch with testimonials.
I'm excited, Wendy. Thank you for putting this out there. This is something that's really needed, and it's just the beginning, because we're just tapping into, quite frankly, the risks of what's happening. Everything from how unilateral cell phone use has been linked to tumors on one side of the brain. Like, they've done mega 100,000+ person studies overseas in Europe proving this. And we're just at a place where people just need a solution. So folks, also, Wendy, did you give your EMF reducing PDF or tips as part of the package when people buy? Is that part of this too?
We don't, but we will. We absolutely can. Yeah, and
because that's brilliant, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. The EMF protection guide, some people find the Harmony pendant with this guide that we have, but I absolutely will include that in the email where you see this video or down below the video.
That's
you guys
smart.
can download that to give you some extra tips regarding reducing EMF in your environment, because the pendant's amazing. It improves your body's energy field. And in doing that, you're more resilient to different types of stress, including EMF. So it's not directly blocking EMF like some people may be thinking. It's improving your body's energy field, and you have more protection in your energy field. It's working properly. It's just lit up, so to speak. And in doing so, you have less damage or less interference from what the EMF is doing, because that's where the EMF is causing problems. It's this frequency is entering your energy field and interfering in your body's communication, in your energy field, where all this communication is happening in your body. And so wearing the pendant helps to protect from that. It's not 100%, but we show that it's up to 88% protection. But improvement, or we're not getting suffering from issues from EMF. But you want to be doing other things in your home as well. You want to reduce the exposure to EMF as much as you can. But the Harmony pendant is a very simple, easy way to add to that, whatever else that you're doing. And it protects you. You're walking outside of your home, because you can't, you just go to places where you're exposed, and there's no way you can mitigate that except with a device like the Harmony pendant.
Yeah. And I was thinking in tunes of, if you're on your cell phone all day like this, and if you sleep next to your Wi-Fi router and you got your cell phone next to you, it's like kind of how I've always said, folks, if you like use essential oils but live the fast food lifestyle, it's like one step forward but two steps back. So we're trying to help us all take steps forward. And so turning off your Wi-Fi router at night when you sleep, when you don't need it, not having it in your room, having it be as far away as possible from you and your family, from where you sleep, turning off or at least putting your phone on airplane mode. A lot of little things like that, like just add up, and you'll see yourself being very attuned to what we're talking about. Again, like the study I just talked about, the frequency of how your DNA vibrates. Like this is what EMFs affect at the very genetic level. This is even goes deeper than the cellular level, like the DNA level of your genome. And so that's why we see so many people with cancer next to cell phone towers and things like that. And we don't want to be a victim of that kind of stuff. So, I love the verse in the Bible that says, "My people perish for lack of knowledge." I love it because God really inspired me 17 years ago to be educated on this kind of stuff and not be ignorant. And so I'm preaching to the choir here. I mean, we are not ignorant of the devices of the devil. And I believe that if misused, this technology is really hurting us in a very bad way, but it's a technology that can be harnessed for good. So it's like a knife, where if you use a knife carelessly, you're going to cut yourself, but a knife is a very vital tool in your kitchen. So I do not want to paint the picture that internet is satanic, because no, it allows us to, unbeknownst to how it works to me, it allows us to talk and to share and to preach and to give this message. But same thing with all this thing that we see online and all these different technologies. So let's use them for good. And I love that. Any other tips you can give in that PDF would be great, Wendy, because this is about what we're doing about certain foods. I'll give you guys a tip. Rosemary and basil essential oil has actually been shown to help protect the body of damage, especially reproductive organ damage related to EMF. Toxicity. Again, this is a research journal. You're going to be hearing a lot more from me coming out. I'm actually, because of this experience with Harmony, Wendy, I went on a total tangent this last weekend in my book writing on creating like a significant portion of my book on EMFs and how to use essential oils, because it's untapped. So anyway, you totally hijacked my book.
Yeah,
But
no, it's brilliant because bioflavonoids are shown to absorb radiation.
Yeah.
And so that's why essential oils are such an important tool in protecting against EMF threats.
Awesome. Well, hey, also too, consider, and I'm sure you're going to be getting future emails about this, consider Wendy's other detoxification products, which just help you. She, again, is one of the very few detox experts that I look to and ascribe to as someone that I trust. There's a lot of people out there who just don't have the experience and the know-how. And quite frankly, Wendy, one of my favorite things about you is just your integrity, your heart of compassion for people. And like me, you know what it's like being sick, and you come from that place of like, hey, you're on point with your mission and purpose. And so everything that you do, whether it's your podcast or your blog articles or your products, I know they're good because you make sure they're good. And so Wendy has some great detoxification stuff and a protocol, and so you could take your healing to another level. So I hope you just consider that, because she is the guru in that area. So I love you dearly, my friend, and Mama Zine, I really appreciate you and your lovely daughter. And um, yeah, thank you so much. And maybe we can do this again and do a follow-up after a month or two to get people's testimonials and see how well they're doing.
Yes, we could check in with people. It's always so fun to see all the different improvements that people made, and they're surprised that they can't believe that a little pendant helped them to make that shift in their lives. So it's always continues to fascinate me. But thank you so much for joining me and having this conversation. And everyone, thanks again for investing and trusting in the Harmony pendant. So I look forward to hearing all of your stories of improvement and stress reduction. Thank you so much.